By the end of this video, you'll know the different illustration styles and media for children's books and exactly how to work out which one is right for your story. So if you've ever looked at your manuscript and wondered which illustration style would suit your book, this video will solve that. Firstly, illustrations aren't decoration for your story. So in a picture book, the illustrations help to tell the story, making up half of it, sometimes even more. So getting the style right is the difference between a book that works and one that does not. So let's start with style. Style is really a broad term. It can refer to cartoon style or realistic, whimsical, stylized, and so on. And often people use media interchangeably with style, for instance, watercolor or charcoal. Or a style can relate to an individual's style or hand. So I'm not going to go into individual styles here since they're as varied as there are illustrators in the world, but I will go over the general styles that you can choose for your book illustrations. So first, there are two major divisions in illustrations. These are traditional versus digital. Traditional illustrations, in brief, are paint, pencil, charcoal, pen, any medium that you use on paper or on a canvas. And digital illustrations are made on the computer. Illustrators can combine the two, traditional and digital, and they often do. So digital illustrations have become more and more common for children's book illustrations. One is not better than the other. Both have advantages and disadvantages, but in the end, it really comes down to a matter of taste and budget, since traditional art is often more expensive. And it's also good to note that digital art can very closely, imitate all forms of traditional art. Now let's go through the major styles of children's book illustrations. To keep things simple, I will just divide this into two parts: the genre or drawing style of the illustrations and the medium that is used to create them. So I'll share examples of each, but there are, of course, many more variations that will give you a different feel and look. I can't possibly share all the variations in one video, so I've chosen only a few. So if you want to see more of a certain drawing style or medium, then Google is your friend. Let's start with the drawing style. For children's book, drawing styles include cartoon that's cute or childlike and cartoon that's kind of wacky or funny. It includes realistic, whimsical, line drawings, sketchy drawings, and stylized art. Now, looking at the examples that I'm going to show you, you'll see that the styles overlap. So, for instance, whimsical drawings can also be stylized, and so on. Now, first, cartoons that are cute and childlike. Cartoon-style drawings have exaggerated features, and they are not true to life. The style can vary. Now, I've divided cartoons into two main styles, the first being cute or childlike. This is the style that you see in a lot of children's book, especially for younger kids. And then there are cartoons that are wacky or funny. And because of the exaggeration in the drawings, cartoons, of course, lend themselves perfectly to funny or wacky illustrations. The next style is realistic. Children's books are almost never hyper-realistic. Realistic here refers to fairly true to life proportions versus cartoon style. That's not true to life. So in children's book, realistic illustrations can be simplistic or they can be detailed. The next one is whimsical. Whimsical illustrations are charming, childlike, carefree, dreamy. They can be fun. They're usually colorful. And then we get line drawings. Line drawings are outline drawings that are not colored, and they don't have any gradation or shading, no different colors or grayscale. It's normally drawn in one color, often black, and only uses lines. So these can also be used for coloring books. Then we get similar to line drawing, but different, sketchy drawings. They are unrefined and they still look more like rough sketches than final illustrations. Now, they can definitely vary in their refinement. They can be rough or hardly rough at all, and often they don't have color. Now, sketchy drawings are often expressive, like freely drawn, which can be a nice touch. And stylized illustrations is the next one. They are not realistic. They don't have natural conventional forms. They are often simplified or they're made up of geometric shapes or patterns. And they also often have flat colors. All right, now to the second part, which is the medium. Though they're not the same thing, as I mentioned earlier, style and medium are often used interchangeably or they do overlap. And this is understandable because the medium influences the appearance. So, for instance, watercolor is often seen as a style, though in the stricter sense of the word, watercolor is a medium. So, while it has this distinct quality, you can create different styles of illustration with watercolor, right? You can create cartoon or you can create whimsical watercolor, etc. The media used for children's books include watercolor, acrylic, gouache, pencil, charcoal, ink, or pen. There's also wood cutting, metal etchings, though those two aren't commonly used anymore, and lithography, as well as multimedia. And then, of course, we get digital, which we can divide into freehand and stylized. And digital can also emulate all the different media. Now, let me take you through the main ones. So first off, watercolor. This is a painting method with water-based paint. And if you use more watery paint, then you get more transparent, softer images. And these illustrations are mostly whimsical, delicate, gentle, sentimental. And you can use less watery paint, which makes sharper, brighter images. For instance, Beatrix Potter preferred watercolor as her main medium. And acrylic paint is the next one. This is a fast-drying paint, and it can also be used watery or thick. So if you use it thicker, then it makes for more opaque colors and texture. Goodnight Moon is a good example of a book with acrylic illustrations. Gouache is another type of paint. It can again be mixed with water to change the consistency, so it can be used dry, which gives you a more textured look, or it can be used at medium consistency, or it can be made watery, and then it becomes quite similar to watercolor. Next, pencil. There are graphite, which is grayscale pencil drawings, and then there are color pencil drawings. The work of Raymond Briggs, for instance, the snowman, that's a lovely example. Then we also get charcoal. So we have Olivia the Pig, right, which is mainly charcoal drawings with splashes of red added in. The next one is ink or pen. Shel Silverstein's books are a famous example of pen and ink illustrations. And then we also get collage. Now, collage is made by attaching different materials like torn paper, tissue paper, photographs, fabric onto a backing. Eric Carle, who's the author of the very famous Caterpillar, he did all his book illustrations in collage. He painted tissue paper with acrylic for his collages. And then we also get mixed media. Now, media is a combination of different media, and that's also quite common in children's books. Examples include watercolor and pencil, or ink and charcoal, or any kind of different paints combined. Then lastly, the other big group is digital illustrations. And there's freehand digital, which is drawn as one would draw on paper. So the shapes and the lines are not organic, not perfect. Geometry, we don't have exact straight lines. There's usually shading. It looks organic. And then there is stylized digital, which doesn't have natural or conventional forms. So it's usually simplified. It's made up of geometric shapes or patterns. Now, as digital software has advanced over the years, digital styles have become extremely varied, and it's now a very common choice for children's books. All right, so that is style. Now you have a feel for the styles out there, right? That you can actually choose for your book. The first thing is to get your idea of how your illustrations should look. And you can think, what would suit my book? Cartoony, bright and bold, a bit scary, wacky, beautiful and delicate illustrations. Your illustration should really complement your writing style and the message of your children's book. So sweet watercolor illustrations, for instance, can be a perfect match for a gentle, touching story. But they may not work very well for a monster truck book. So different styles could suit your story, though. So don't feel limited. It's not like you can only choose one style. And most styles can be adapted to match the quality of your book. For instance, the same style of cartoon can be funny, goofy, cute, or even shocking. And it just depends on a few slight variations that the illustrator can do. What I would advise is to study some of the best children's book illustrations out there to really get an idea of what you would like for your book. And a tip on this is to study recent books because the industry has changed. So books from 30 years ago don't match what's selling now. So study books ideally that were published in the last 5 to 10 years. Also keep in mind the age group that you're writing for. And just in case you don't have a clear age group in mind, I do need to mention that it's crucial. Children grow rapidly in their ability to understand, their sense of humor, what they enjoy. For instance, a 4-year-old and a 10-year-old are not going to enjoy the same thing or understand the same things. So even though the story, the word count, the book types vary from age to age, most illustration styles can still work for any age group, sometimes with some adaptations. So your options are many. The main thing is to keep in mind whether a kid in your age group will like the drawings and if they will understand the drawings. Too abstract won't work for toddlers, and too babyish may put off older kids. The biggest tip here is really to look at other books in your age group to see what is selling. And when you're ready for illustrations, I want to invite you to come and see us at Get Your Book Illustrations, which is my illustration agency, where we create beautiful, affordable, 100% unique, hand-drawn illustrations by professional illustrators who know children's books. So the link for that is in the description. All right, over to you. Go and pull out about 5 or 6 children's books for your age group from your shelf or from your local library and look at just one thing, the style that they are drawn in. So notice what's selling right now for the age that you're writing for. Taking about 1 hour to do this will teach you more than almost anything else or anything I can say in this video. And once you've settled on a style, the next thing is working out what types of illustrations you actually need, like how many your book should have. And then I also cover that and the mistakes that can wreck book illustrations in the next video. So watch that one next to be able to plan your book. And when you're ready, you can come visit us at Get Your Book Illustrations. And the link, as I said, is in the description. I will see you in the next video.